Hi, I'm Melissa Kathryn, and sorry about that. Welcome back to Done with Dieting Live. This is our Holiday Helper series, and this is week 3 of the Holiday Helper series, and I'm so happy that you are here today. So for anybody that hasn't been here, we've covered everything from how to really set yourself, this entire series has been how to set yourself up for success and how to stay aligned with your personal goals, your health goals, your weight loss goals, while also truly, really enjoying this holiday season. So I just want to tell you, I had to thank you. Last week I got really sick. Actually, the night before, it was supposed to be week 3 last week, so this was supposed to be a 4-week series, and it is. We just had to take a week off. And so I just want to thank you all so much for just your beautiful, beautiful emails and support and best wishes and healing wishes and get well. And I have to tell you, it knocked me on my ass. I did our last group call for Weight Loss for Life, and I was saying to the women on the call, I'm like, I just haven't been feeling well today. And that night I went to bed, and for the first time in forever, I woke up in the middle of the night and I had 103 fever, and it was crazy. And it was just, this is my first day actually out. It's kind of nuts that an entire week later that I feel good and I'm back, because that was not the case at all. I was crawling. My parents were like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I need help." So I had just flown home to visit them, and I couldn't even open my eyes. My blood pressure was crazy low. My fever was 103. I was really dehydrated. It was really nuts, and it escalated really quickly. So I actually want to talk about that today. So in today's Done with Dieting Live, in our Holiday Helper series, we are talking about managing the inner perfectionist and letting go of not only our own expectations, but letting go of the perfectionist so that we can actually enjoy the holiday season. So there's that inner critic, that inner perfectionist that loves to come out and constantly tell us that we're never doing enough, that we need to do more, that we need to push more, that what we just ate was wrong, that, that inner perfectionist, she's a freak. And she comes on like crazy. Hi, Sally. How are you? And what's up, Christine? So I'm Melissa Kathryn. I am a nutritionist. I'm a life coach. I'm an intuitive. I am holistic in my methodology and everything that I teach. I don't believe that as I specialize in weight loss, natural weight loss, and really working with people with emotional eating and disordered eating to release weight naturally and to come back to the wholeness of self, really connecting back to your body, to trust yourself, to love yourself, and to know that your body has the answers that you need over any diet book, over any expert, over me, over anybody else, and really reconnecting women to the power that's already within them that's just gotten lost along the way on this beautiful journey called life. Especially when we've been in the dieting world, we end up giving our power away a lot to other people, saying, that they seem to know what's better for our bodies than our own bodies, and we stop trusting it after we've done the lose-gain cycle so many times. And if you're like me and you had the eating disorders and other things that come along with that, along with the body dysmorphia or negative self-talk, insecurities, body image issues, any of those things, after a while, you don't know who to trust. And the last person that you really trust is yourself around, and you definitely don't trust yourself around food. So what I really do is I bridge that gap. I help women to identify the gaps. I always say where there's lack, you will fill those gaps with food. So we identify the gaps, we find what's lacking, and we start to fill up our lives with all the things that we're really wanting that we're too afraid to go for. And usually when we do that, and the less we want the food, because we're more in love with ourselves than ever before, and we're more in love with our lives, and then food becomes fuel, and it's something that's to be enjoyed, but it doesn't have that emotional power over us. So that is my background. I'm also a hypnotherapist. I was a fitness expert and competitor, and I bring all of that to my programs. So it's really an entire holistic approach. We tie style in there. We tie in lifestyle. We tie in everything to really give you that rounded out experience, and that you truly come back to the wholeness of yourselves so that you never need to diet again. That is my true mission. So, Maria, it is so good to see you, girl. What we are doing today, so again, today's topic in our Holiday Helper series, so Done with Dieting Live takes place every Thursday at 4 p.m. We've been going back and forth because I've been switching coasts a lot with the holidays, so thank you for sticking with me here. Typically, it is at 4 p.m. Central, or Pacific, I'm sorry, 7 p.m. Eastern. Holy God. So, thank you, because this is my first day back, so work with me here. It's normally 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Right now we're doing 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, because I'm with my fans. So thank you for that. But we normally do Done with Dieting Live, and right now what we're in the midst of is week 3 of our Holiday Helper series. So this week we were talking about how to manage and really quiet our inner perfectionist. So who here has that inner critic that screams really loudly? Throw some hearts, throw some happy faces, throw some emojis up there so I know that you're with me. Thank you. Okay. So what we're going to be talking about is not only how to manage our inner critic, but also how to make peace with our inner critic, let go of the inner perfectionist that's really keeping us small and keeping us stuck. And then also what we're going to talk about is how to manage holiday expectations so that we're not let down. Because honestly, how many times have you sat there and you've done so much for your families? You've run around like crazy since like Halloween. So this is almost 2 months now. And then you're finding yourself in a place where you are absolutely exhausted. You feel underappreciated. No one really gets all that you put into the meals, that you put into wrapping each present, the thought that you put into everything. You don't feel appreciated. You ended up getting into arguments with family. You're left exhausted, maybe even sick. You ate too much. You didn't get to appreciate anything. And then you're stuck cleaning it all up, wondering what just happened to the holidays. And where did this go? And another time where I didn't even get to really enjoy my children. I didn't get to enjoy my spouse. I didn't get to enjoy my friends because I was just running around like a lunatic. So we don't want that to happen. So here's what we're going to do. Progress, not perfect. Oh my God, Rebecca. Girl, all right, this is one of my girls. And she's in Bali right now, and she's like the light of my life. It sounds a little crazy to say that. I love her so much. It's hard to put into words, my love for this woman. She's amazing. I have to give her a shout out because you have to check out, she's running a retreat in Bali soon. For all my biz entrepreneurs out there, you need to check out this woman. She's incredible, and what she's doing is incredible, and I want to hop on a plane and go be a part of it. She's amazing. So what I want to do today is I also want to tie in something that really spoke to me about what just happened to me. So the fact that I was legit laying on the floor and like couldn't even open up my eyes, and I was like, somebody help me, because I ended up getting so sick in the span of 24 hours. What I wanted to share, because this holiday season as Superwomen, Wonder Woman, which is what we all are, I really want to start off today's class, if you will, Facebook Live, is we're going at a mile a minute. And if you're anything like me, your mind's a lot stronger than your body. You can easily talk yourself into just about anything, from self-sabotaging yourself to pushing yourself really hard. And in some ways it's good, as overachievers. And when it comes to our health and to slowing down and to taking that time for ourselves and to relaxing and to tuning into the body, not so helpful. As somebody that prides themselves on teaching others to connect in with their bodies, I really thought I was doing that, and I was, but not 100%. I was until I started to feel good, and the minute that I started to feel good, right? So I'd be like, oh, I'm feeling like I'm kind of run down, and then I take it easy, and then the minute that I was back and I was like, oh, okay, I feel good, I would go full throttle. And I'm talking everything from social engagements to work launches to, you know, being out with friends to spending time with family to spreading myself too thin. Okay? We all have really busy lives. And, you know, you can sit there and think, I've really slowed down, I've done this, I've done that. Have you really? Because the body doesn't lie. And I really, you know, I sat there and I was like, what's the lesson? I'm always looking and going, what's the lesson and the blessing here? Because this isn't fun. This isn't what I intended. I was supposed to fly home and go take my mom up to DC to see other part of our family. And they had planned this big thing, and to have to cancel that. And I was just sitting there going, this is not what I had planned. Like, I had planned out all this time, and now here I am sick, and I had done everything in my power to not get sick. How did I get here? And in many ways, I'm insanely grateful right now, because a week later, and look at me, you know, I feel good. And that's just power to the fact that I actually listened when I got knocked on my ass. I take good care of myself, so my immunity bounces back quickly. But it's also a lesson of don't push it from here. Do you see what I'm saying? So thank you. Yes, Rebecca, it's like, and so the lesson that I wanted to share with you, because I always feel that I get lessons so that I can get knocked on my ass, so you don't have to, so that I can share it, so that hopefully these words will resonate with you and then will keep you from pushing yourselves. Because the last thing that you want to do is push yourself to the point where you can't enjoy the things that are in front of you. You know, the life that you have and the time that you do have off and the people that you want to spend it with. There's no point in all this rushing and hustling around and going to extremes if when the actual time off, you're stuck in bed. And so I want to encourage you all this holiday season, and as we really are going through that process of reconnecting back to the body, which is what Done with Dieting is all about, is apply it to all areas of your life. This is a lifestyle, and I tell the women in my Weight Loss for Life program, is you don't just do weight loss for life for a year. Weight loss for life is for a lifetime. You know, this isn't just, and my private clients, we're not just learning what to do for a short time or just a year together. You are learning lifestyle practices, your lifestyle practices that are going to, you know, be with you for the rest of your life, that are going to help you to have the life that you've always wanted to live in a way that gives you the balance, the freedom, the happiness, the health, the body, right, to really thrive. And so in order to do this, I just want to share with you all, please listen to your body, because there's no intuitive, there's no psychic, there's no pendulum, there's no crystals, there's no signs or all these other things that can give you a greater sign than your body and your own intuition telling you what it needs. And when our minds are really wanting something and when we're really strong-willed, you can easily talk yourself into just about anything. But your mind is telling, your body's telling you, not your mind, your body's telling you when it's tired. It's saying when it needs to stay asleep. And when you're sitting there and you push it to do a workout, or you're just like, okay, no, I've just got to get this Christmas shopping done, or now's not the time to slow down. When your body speaks, listen, because it can knock you out. It will knock you out, and it will sit there and go, I tried to give you hints. I tried to tell you when your throat first started to hurt. I tried to tell you when you started to get that headache, or when you got dehydrated, or when you felt tired, or when you needed extra sleep, and you gave it to yourself in that moment, but you didn't really continue to nurture, right? So I always want you to think of yourself as a little child, a little girl. And if your own child's sitting there and they're getting sick, you know, you're not just like, oh, you stay in bed today and we're going to go have you run around on the playground tomorrow and put you outside and just put you right back in it. You know, you have to nurture yourself. You have to give yourself that time. So that was something that I really wanted to share with you. It's a big lesson that I learned. And, you know, I just canceled. I was supposed to drive up and see both of my brothers tomorrow and before they're coming down and spend some extra time. And I just said, you know, I would love to be there, and I'm actually just going to stay put. A week ago, I wasn't able to move. I'm in a good spot and I'm going to stay here. So that's me not, now my mind's like, no, go. Like, you want nothing more than to play with your nieces and be with, you know, your whole family and all this stuff. And I'm choosing to stay here. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's about honoring yourself. No one knows what's better for you than you do. And it's about starting to learn to trust that voice and to trust your body to know what it's telling you. So let's move into segment number 2 of our three phases here today. So that was step 1, and that was just a lesson that I learned this past week, and I really wanted to impart it on you. Again, I always believe that I get lessons that are meant to be shared. So I hope that that speaks to you, and those of you that it does, please take it on board. Those of you that doesn't, you just let that go away for another day. So let's talk about the inner perfectionist, because she's like wicked, right? I personally have a separate name. I like to name these different pieces of ourselves. So I like to think of us as kind of being like schizophrenic. And we each have these different phases and pieces to ourselves. One of them is our inner critic. And our inner critic is usually the one that's very predominant in many females' lives. And and so controlling too. Yes, and she's nasty, right? So one thing that I want to tell you all to do is begin to separate out that piece of yourself. Give her a different name. So let's give her the name of my inner critic. If any of you have been following me, you know this. Like, I actually have written about her. Her name's Krystal. I don't know why. I think I had a Barbie named Krystal. And I think like I didn't like her, or like I made her kind of like a villain or something. I don't know. I wasn't like a big Barbie player, but I remember I had a Barbie and I was like, and her name was like Krystal or something. And I just like, she just seemed like, I don't know. She just seemed like trash. I don't even know what it was, but all of a sudden she's like this villainous like creature in my mind. And it's not even like a bad name. So I don't know what we're talking about. So any Krystals that might be listening, I love you. So I really like to say we want to give that piece of ourselves that we give a negative connotation. There's so much talk in the self-help world about our ego, our alter ego, and it gets this like really bad rap. Well, I actually like these different sides of ourselves that are considered our dark side, because they have a lot of information and they're pieces of us. So we don't want to turn our back on them. We actually want to partner with them so that we can start to have them work in our favor, right? Like, you want to kill the dark side with some kindness and get it to work with you. And the way to do that is to start to understand it. Our inner perfectionist was created you weren't a perfectionist by nature. You weren't born a perfectionist. You got it as a part of the way that you were raised. Either your mother or your father was a perfectionist and had very high standards for you, or they had no standards for you and you created standards for yourself in order to feel loved and accepted, right? So I'm going to say that one more time because it's kind of like a aha moment for some that haven't heard something like this before. Your inner critic, the inner perfectionist, you weren't born that way. You weren't born in a sense where you were just like hammering yourself and coming down on yourself, always saying like no matter what you did, it's never enough. Like, you didn't do that as a child. That came from your parents. So it either came from, right, Rebecca? So it either comes from a mother or a father, and it comes from one of them being a perfectionist too. Or it comes from neither one of them being a perfectionist, them actually not really having high standards for you, or not even really paying that much attention to things that you did, but in order to really feel their love and acceptance and approval, you felt the need to be perfect. Like, if I'm perfect, then they'll notice me. If I'm perfect, then they'll love me. If I'm perfect, then they'll approve of me. And this is really what we do, because as children, we're constantly seeking that love and acceptance and approval. When we start to notice there's a gap, when we start to notice that we're not feeling that, children are intuitive by nature, right? We all are intuitive. We just forget that as we get older, unfortunately. And it's really one of our greatest gifts, which is why I work so hard with people to come back to their intuitive nature. And it's been one of my gifts. And so coming back to that has just been beautiful. And so I really want to share with you that the inner perfectionist, that's where she really creates herself. So first and foremost, when we want to start to understand her, we want to understand her origin. Where did she come from? So once we start to understand that she came from a parent or from a neglect from parents, then we start to go, oh, okay, I've got this. So now that we've got an understanding of where it came from, then we want to give it a name. So we want to start to identify it. So my inner critic, instead of just being like, oh my God, I'm so mean to myself. This piece of me is so nasty. She's awful. She's this. I just want to shut her down. We're going to shut that bitch up. Like, I hear people say stuff like that all the time. And I'm like, no, wait, we don't, like, I get it, and I get that you're frustrated with her and you don't want her to speak the way that she is, and we don't want to shut the bitch down. We actually just, let's start talking to her. So we want to give your inner critic a voice. And for all of you that have a problem with foul language, I apologize. We can just ignore it, or just substitute in the words. But so it's just coming out today. We're just going to work with it. So we want to give her a name. So I was telling you that my inner critic, her name's Krystal. And so sometimes, like, I'll just sit there and, like, I'll look at myself in the mirror randomly, and Krystal's like, God, you know, your face looks fat, or like you look like you're getting old, or God, your hair looks like crap today, or, you know, I have no idea, but she's got a lot to say some days, right? And and it doesn't matter how much work you do on you, guys, she's always there in some capacity. It's about you managing the voice. You manage the inner critic, just like you manage all of the relationships in your life. It's just another relationship with a piece of you, right? So you just want to think of it as it's management, it's self-management. So you just want to, like, I'll notice Krystal and I'll hear her, and it helps so much to go, okay, that's not really me, because the real me is the voice of love. The real me is divine and connection. The real me is intuitive and whatever you want to believe, religious preference, but universe, you are in connection with source power, God, whatever you want to put to this. So when I know that I'm really love, then I know that the words coming from this alter ego, if you will, it's not from love, which means it is from my experience here on this earth. It is from a separation from self, which is what happens when we're little, right? So if I'm getting too far gone here, just stick with me. So what you want to do is you want to give your inner critic a name, then you want to actually start to have a conversation, a dialogue. So when you notice her, you want to start to, before she's even finishing the words in her mouth, right? Before you even finish those thoughts, you want to start to just say something simple as, you know, cancel, clear, delete, or as Joseph Campbell says, is it Joseph Campbell? Maybe it's not. No, it's not. In The Power of the Subconscious Mind, and I have to remember his name, and I'm blanking on it. If anybody knows it, please put it in the feed. The Power of the Subconscious Mind. And, you know, he just says, before a thought has time to birth itself and become a belief in 17 seconds. 17 seconds. So if we cannot let that thought come out and actually originate into form, and we replace it with something positive within 17 seconds, then we have created now a positive thought instead of a negative one. But if we don't allow that thought to create, and we extract it, cancel, clear, delete, then it doesn't come into form, which means it won't create a negative belief or a thought that then will go on repeat like the other 80,000 thoughts that we have, right? So I just share with you, yes, 17 seconds. I know, it's crazy. So I just share this with you because that's step one. So in letting go of our inner perfectionist, we want to thank you, Joseph Murphy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Malia girl. So we want to really understand that with our inner perfectionist, we really want to give her a name. We want to start to have dialogue with her. We don't want her to finish thoughts. We don't want to allow for the thought to finish. We want to say cancel, clear, delete, and then we want to replace it with something loving. Mary Kate, oh my God, I haven't seen you in so long. How are you, love bug? So that's really, really important. So let's talk about the inner perfectionist and all the things that she has on you. So for anybody that's been on my list, I sent out a video yesterday of how to release your inner perfectionist around the holidays. So if you aren't on my list, make sure to go back. If you are on my list, or just go to my website and go to yesterday's blog and you can watch that entire video. It's really, really, really good. So go watch it. Not now, after this. And that's just melissakathryn.com. Malia, if you could post that blog post in below, that would be awesome. So the other thing that I wanted to share with you in letting go of the inner perfectionist is, guys, I really want you to pay attention to how many things do you have on your perfectionist list that don't need to be happening this holiday season? How many of you have a wrapping station where you're sitting there saying that you need to wrap all of your presents like a crazy person and make them look like the little elves did them? Guys, nobody cares what the presents look like. They'd rather have you present and be upstairs with them than have you sitting closed off in a room, stressed out, or up until 2 in the morning, wrapping presents so that they look perfect. Trust me, as the daughter of a perfectionist, we used to have a wrapping station. We used to sit up forever. I learned how to wrap. You fold in the edges. You don't let any jagged anything show. You fold everything down. I learned how to wrap like a perfect person. And I can also say this, we would sit up exhausted. We oftentimes were in another room when everybody else was having fun someplace else, and it was not fun. So I really want to share with you, bag it, put it in a beautiful bag, put some tissue paper over it, and call it a day. But really look at all the things that you have on your list that are taking up an insane amount of time that is not necessary, that is actually detracting from your good time this holiday season and from doing the things that really matter most, like being with your family, like having fun, like relaxing, rejuvenating. So really look at the things that you have on your list. Where can you order food in instead of slaving all day? That's another change that we made in my family. It was just like, listen, let's just start to order. I'm half Italian, half Irish. My mom makes pasta from scratch, like everything's made from scratch. And we just started, ordering dinner, we're like, that's it. We're done. We don't want her to be a lunatic, right? I don't want to be a lunatic. I don't want to be stuck in the kitchen either. How can you create things that are going to help to alleviate the stress? Oftentimes, again, as superwomen and the inner perfectionist, you put too many and so many parameters on yourself about what needs to be done, how often, and to what extent. And it's the standards that you place on yourself. But the bottom line is, nobody really cares. They just want you there. They don't want the lunatic. Your kids remember that, right? Your friends remember that. Your spouses remember that. Your partners remember that. They want you, and you want you. So really look at, when it comes to presents, when it comes to, again, shopping wise, put your orders in, do the Amazon Prime, get everything delivered, even get it gift wrapped and call it a day. But look at your list and where you're putting an immense amount of pressure on yourself that doesn't need to be there, because it's causing you a ton of anxiety. It's getting you stressed out. It's making you miserable. And what it's doing is detracting from your holiday, when the bottom line is not many people are even paying attention, right? And before you know it, the holidays are over. Don't you want to remember the things that matter most, that are most important? Because all of this other stuff is just nonsense. And again, when it comes down to the perfectionist nature, it's always that voice within your head that's saying what you're doing is never enough, that you need to do this, that you need to have more of this, that you need to have more of that, that you need to run out last minute, that this needs to be perfect, that needs to be perfect, and it doesn't. I have women in my Weight Loss for Life group that were even talking about Thanksgiving and even this Christmas, and it's like, I have to do this and I'm always let down and I always feel underappreciated and nobody gets how much work I put in. And I really just put it back on them and said, but how much of it is you putting stress on yourself? Are they saying that they need 50,000 lights up and all these wreaths and this to look perfect and that? Or is it you? Who's putting the stress on yourself about the way that you look and your weight and having the perfect outfit? Is it you? Is it you that's thinking that your family's going to be a certain way? So really start to look at that. There's a mantra that I love that Wayne Dyer shared that's just like, I'm always at peace. I attract in only peace. And he said that he always said it around his family, especially at the holidays. And because of that, his entire experience with his family changed. His entire experience with himself. And he used to dread the holidays with his in-laws. And he started going like, oh, the racial slurs and this and that. And then he's like, and then I started to think, how can I appreciate each person? How can I not judge them, right? And I just did a post the other day about judging ourselves. And when we're judging others, we in turn are always judging ourselves first. It's our own harsh inner critic that's placing harsh judgments on others. And if we're placing harsh judgments on others, the ones that we're placing on ourselves are 100 times that. And when we're judging others, it's because we're a judgmental person. And that comes from being a perfectionist. That comes from the inner critic. And, that's a really challenging place to be, because it means that no matter what you do, it's never going to be enough. So oftentimes with the perfectionist, and when I'm working with my perfectionist, which is all of my clients, and for the majority, I will say, what's your idea of perfection? You keep saying that it just needs to be perfect. It needs to be this. It needs to be that. I'm upset because it's not perfect. And I say, well, what deems perfect? What is that? And they go, well, I don't know, but it's just not this. It's not me. Well, if you don't even know what perfection is, and yet you're holding yourself to that standard, that's really hard, because you're always going to be let down. You're always going to be disappointed. So really look at your to-do list and look at the immense amount of pressure and this really goes into the third stage here of what we're talking about, which is how to let go of our expectations so that we're not let down, so that we don't feel underappreciated, and then so that we're not left exhausted and overwhelmed. What are your holiday expectations? What are the expectations that you're placing on other people? And what are the expectations that you're placing on yourself in this holiday? Really write those out and start to read them. I had, clients do this exercise, and it was really telling to them just how much pressure they were placing on themselves this holiday season. And it's really incredible to see, because once you start to do that exercise, you see, wow, I have a lot at stake right now and for what, the 24th, 25th, 26th, and on New Year's, and talk about New Year's expectations. So let's just work with whatever you celebrate, but let's just talk about Christmas or like Hanukkah or whatever's going on right now. Like, what are your expectations? What are your expectations for gifts? The pressure that women place on their spouses. What are the expectations that you're going to get from your kids, or all of these things. And when we really start to let go and we just go, what if my expectation for this holiday is just to be grateful, to feel love, to be at peace? Let's bring things back, because it's never about the gifts. It's never about anything else. Just like with weight loss, guys, it's never about the food. You guys definitely do not need more diet tips. Christ, the internet is flooded. You don't need any more exercise tips. What you want to really get grounded in is, what is it you really want to feel? What is weight loss going to bring to you? What are you wanting to feel this holiday season? Appreciated, loved, cherished, respected, honored? Do you want to just feel fun, lighthearted? Then what are you doing to create that? Because stressing, being exhausted, feeling like you need to be perfect, are any of those things equating to the actual feelings that you want to have? No. So if you're wanting to feel free and light in your body, then how is making yourself a lunatic, putting 50,000 things on your to-do list, eating while you're cooking, and putting all of these things down that you're supposed to be doing, how is any of that actually going to give you the feelings that you want to have? It's not. Right? So get clear. So let's go through this exercise again. Write down, what are your expectations for this holiday season? What are you expecting to experience? What gifts are you expecting to receive? What pressure are you putting on people around you without even realizing it? I was thinking about this, and I'll tell you from my own life. I mean, I started to realize that I was putting myself in the middle of playing this kind of like peacemaker. And then I was kind of playing like the martyr of like, I don't want any of this drama. I don't want to play peacemaker. And it's like, nobody asked me to. I put myself in that, because I want everybody to be happy, and I want everybody to blah, 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 all the things that us coaches want for everybody. And the bottom line is, it was making me unhappy. It was annoying my family members, because then they're looking at me and they're like, kind of like, you're annoying us, right? Like, I mean, they didn't say that, but I don't even know if annoying, but it was just kind of like, all of a sudden I found myself feeling like I was in the midst of drama, and I was just kind of like, how did I get here? This is the last thing. Like, all I'm trying to do is tell people that I want nothing to do with anything, and yet I'm still getting involved. So I just need to recognize that everyone's grown adults, and I don't need to manage anybody. The only person that I need to manage is me. The only person's happiness that I need to manage is my own. Nobody else is. And that was huge. And the minute that I did that, everything shifted. Everything. And I felt this weight lifted, and I just felt at peace. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not responsible for anybody else. I just need to make sure I'm honoring me. What's going to give me the holiday that I want? What's going to give me, what do I want to experience this holiday season? So let's go through this again. You want to get clear. What are the expectations that you've placed on yourself? What are the expectations that you placed on this holiday? What are the expectations that you placed on other people? Because I guarantee you have a lot of expectations that you didn't even realize, and you're going to be let down when you start thinking that you can manage how other people are going to show up for you and show up in your life. Even when it's something like, oh, well, I told them to bring sweet potatoes, you know, or a lasagna, and then they bring a veggie lasagna instead of a meat. And it's like, I can't believe they brought like a veggie lasagna. I mean, I don't know why they would bring veggie. Of course, everybody knows to bring a meat lasagna. It's like, no, you didn't communicate that, and not everybody knows that. And again, start to notice those things so that you're not in a space where you are constantly waiting to pounce in attack mode and are finding yourself in the space where people start going, God, you're so emotional, you're so sensitive. They're saying that in response to the fact that you're like kind of on like hyper overdrive, and it's because you are emotional and sensitive, because you have so many expectations and feel like there's 50,000 balls in the air. So I hate the words sensitive and I hate the words emotional, and I get a lot of people get that, especially if you're intuitive, and we are more emotional beings than sensitive, but I'm talking about in the context of when we're on hyper overdrive and we have an immense amount of expectations that we're placing on everybody else and on ourselves, then we're in a high stress state all the time. It's unfun to be around. I don't want to be around it. I don't like to be in that space. I don't like to be around other people in that space. And when you get a bunch of that, the holiday season, and too many people like that, this happens, right? So how do we diffuse that? By managing ourselves. And by really getting clear that we cannot manage other people. We just have to get clear on what we want to experience. So again, write down your expectations for everybody else, yourself, and the holiday, and then get clear and write down what are the feelings that you want to have this holiday season. How do you want to feel? And see if your actions are aligned with your expectations. If your actions are aligned not with your expectations, if your actions are aligned with your feelings, because oftentimes the actions that we're doing are completely counterintuitive to the feelings that we want to have. We're like, no, I just want to be really happy, and I want to be joyous, and I just want to enjoy everybody, and I just want to be free this holiday season. And then our expectations are like, everything must be perfect. I need to fit in this. I get my workouts in. I get this in. I get that in. I show up like this. Everybody says this. They do this. This goes like this. Everything's so like, it's like nothing's ever going to go like that. So if you want to feel free, then what can you do? What action steps can you take to feel free? If you want to feel light, what action steps can you take to feel light? If you want to feel joyous, what action steps can you take to feel joyous? If you want to release the inner perfectionist, what action steps do you need to take to let go of her? What mindset? And this is all mindset. So I really want to remind you of these things. So the 3 things that we covered today were how to take care of yourself and really tap into your intuitive body to slow down, especially if you're on the verge of getting sick, feel like you're run down, or constantly pushing the envelope and feeling like no matter what you're doing, you're never getting everything off your to-do list. Then you need to adjust your to-do list and really recognize about letting go and not pushing. Right? You don't want to push yourself to the point where you can't even enjoy the holidays because you're run so thin. The next thing that we talked about is how to really manage your inner critic and giving her a name, understanding the origin of where she came from and how to relate to her, and actually how to stop negative beliefs and thought patterns from happening in their tracks. The other thing that we did was really recognize our expectations for the holiday season and how to manage our expectations and manage our experience to really create the experience that we want to have while managing our mindset so that we can have a very joyous, peaceful, and amazing holiday season. So I hope that you found this extremely helpful. I loved being here with you, and I look forward to being with you for next week's Holiday Helper series. Next week, we're talking about how to overcome a binge, and that is happening on December 28th. So make sure to be there with me live because that's perfect timing right before New Year's and right after the holidays. Overcoming a binge this holiday season. Happy holidays. Wishing you all a very Merry Christmas, the happiest of holidays, warmest of holiday wishes to a healthy and beautiful and most joyous holiday season and gorgeous new year. But I will be with you before the new year, and I will definitely see you soon. So have a beautiful day, and I'm off to experience and enjoy mine. All right, love you all.